Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and in collaboration with W4W Foundation and media partner Counterview. My name is Dr. Vandana, and from KJ Somaya Institute of Management, and I'm also part of the National Resource Council as research. I'm joined by Dr. Mansi Balbhargav, who's currently holding the position of National President of the Wiki Water Resources Council and also the founder director for W4W Foundation. We are glad to start this conversation, namely Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, which we colloquially refer to as Blue Lips. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and the wisdom of the women, by the women, for the women in the water sector. In here, we hope to learn about the water endeavors of the women in a regular disciplined manner, like a masterclass. Today, in this session, we are here to listen and know more about the water journey of Meenal Patole and her team from WaterAid. Let me just quickly introduce to you Meenal. Meenal is an alumnus of Jawaharlal Nehru University and IIT Bombay. She has a diverse professional experience of over 25 years and has worked with leading national and international organizations such as British Council, MCRIL Private Limited, Care India, Acted, and Access Development Services. Meenal also co-founded a microfinance institution and led it for almost a decade. She was also a board member of the Microfinance Institutions Network India and has led several consulting assignments. Her thematic areas of work primarily include financial inclusion, livelihoods, women empowerment, humanitarian disaster response, and leveraging public-private partnerships for advocacy and opportunities for low-income and vulnerable sections of society. Welcome to Monday Munching session, Meenal, and we are really excited to have you in our session and to know more about your journey. All right. So what we are going to start with is actually, Meenal, we have read your background and a lot of information we have got, but we will be really interested to know more about how you gradually moved into the water sector. What brought you to water sector? If you could throw some light.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Vandana and Dr. Mansi, for the kind invitation and introduction. And it's a great opportunity today to sort of speak on the topic of water and speak as a woman, basically. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Yeah, I mean, when you think about development sector as a whole, you really cannot distinct one part from another, because if I'm saying I'm working on livelihoods, that doesn't mean I don't have to think about, say, rain, or I don't have to think about capacities of institutions, or I don't really have to think about government funding or something like that. So when we are saying we are development practitioners, what we are concerned is about the impact, right? What will help to change someone's life, basically. So for me, more than the thematics, the impact has been a very key sort of driver in terms of working or leading on things. And water is an equally important topic, basically, water sanitation. So while I may have skills as an entrepreneur or as a researcher or as a trainer, well, that is great. But I mean, in the end, what are you looking at is impact and change. And I found an opportunity where, after working as an entrepreneur for almost 12 years, to sort of come back and focus on the impact and water and sanitation, I grabbed that opportunity and thought that this is also one of the ways in terms of continuing a meaningful contribution that one could do at the grassroots, basically. And of course, if there's any new subject matter, it's always a learning curve. But if you know the basics, if you understand the people's life, you understand what it means for a marginalized community to sort of fend day-to-day basis. As a woman, what does it mean to, strike a balance between taking care of family and taking care of personal things? Then you're aware of things, basically. And it doesn't take much time to acquaint oneself with the empirical or the academic side of it, basically. So in that sense, I felt myself going through a free flow and entering, free flow like water basically. And I entered into the subject matter. Yeah.
Great. I think this transition many of us in our life would have experienced. The way you have encapsulated it by saying flown like a water, I think that's really significant. What are you presently doing, Meenal? What is your current level of engagement? What is your daily routine like? Can you just share with us?
Yeah, sure. So currently, I'm at WaterAid India, based out of Delhi, and in this, as a capacity, I work as director programs, and that would mean leading the program strategy and implementation for WaterAid in India. And yeah, I mean, it's around planning, strategy, implementation, and uh, and sort of driving the mission through the project implementation for WaterAid. So that's my role at the moment.
Okay. So, Meenal, when you say planning, implementation, and strategy development, can you throw a
Mm.
little bit more light so that our audiences are better able to understand what does it take to be in a position like yours? What kind of
Yeah.
work it entails?
Yeah, I don't think I'm in that great at this, but yes, I do my duty and my responsibilities. So it means to just think strategically and intuitively about uh, what are we going to do in water. And if that what needs to explain by why we are going to do that, yeah. What are the critical factors that would want you to work in a particular region? What are the critical factors that one would want you to say, I know I don't work in this region, but I work in that region. So when someone asks me why you work here and not there, then I should be able to answer both the questions, basically. So as as a director, I have to be ready with plan A, plan B, and plan C. Why? Because the political economy environment, the policy environment, the ecosystem, they change. Yeah. And whereas you are looking at problems of people which may be static, which may be stuck up. And then within that situation, it could be a policy situation with a funding situation, or it could be change in laws basically, which permit you to do something or which may not permit you. What are the ABC plans you think will work for the people that you work with basically? So you need to think about it continuously and plan it out. I mean, there is always, I mean, you have to look at two aspects, the demand side, the supply side. Yeah. So what is the demand perspective looking like? Yeah. What are the supply conditions? And where are you? I mean, are you able to match it? Are you not able to match it? How much you are able to match it? And in the end, you look at, we have invested something.
Right.
What we are investing is public money, right? In the end. And then we are looking at how that investment can be really fruitful. Of course, there is some kind of leeway is always there. Some variance would happen, but it should not be that it should be 80% variance and 70% variance from the what you have visioned or what is required. So I think these are the strategic choices basically which you grapple, because my team is based out of 11 states and they're well capacitated, good leadership to implement the projects, to take it forward, to support in the strategy. But for me, I have to think from all these perspectives and help the team to sort of find that niche, find those areas where it would really make a significant dent. There are two ways. One is a direct impact you would make, right? You set up a hand pump, you set up a water conservation, and then you make a change there. The other way is to influence, because there is nothing which can compare to a public investment. Yeah. And as a civil society organization, I know I work with limitations. So one is prospects, opportunities, demand, supply, and the limitations. So what are my limitations and how I need to leverage that also. So that's also another perspective that I need to keep thinking about. So I keep trying to keep, studying these aspects And in my role as a director here, I keep supporting the team basically.
Well, very interestingly, you paused at that moment which was almost leading to our next question when you say elaborately thinking day in and day out, trying to make the hard choices and being prepared to be answerable and accountable for the same. That definitely would have been challenging. I know that development sector has its own set of limitations, but still being in this leadership position, I want you to dwell some thoughts on what kind of challenges you have encountered, which would be very helpful for our audience to kind of engage with and understand better the challenges which happens at your end.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, I mean, one thing is about, when you start working with the communities, you set up aspirations, right? You don't have, you look at villages, then you talk to people, they say, oh, we don't have water. There is some problem with sanitation facility. Then someone might say that, oh, whereas community is fine, but the schools are having difficulty. So there is an aspiration when you start engaging with the community. And I think in terms of the current nature of funding, we are not able to meet those aspirations. So you cannot secure things, basically. That's the first challenge. You cannot really secure it. You really have to have the choice, sometimes. So I feel that's one major kind of challenge I keep facing, basically, in terms of decisions. And then meeting that people's aspirations. Of course, there is a government fund we could always leverage, depend, but there are processes and systems. So you cannot assure things within a time limit. It might take a day, or it might take 4 months, or it might even take a year or two, basically, or it may never happen. So I think on both the sides, the aspirations of the people and us feeling happy, satisfied, or gratified, there's always a challenge, and you need to live with that limitations. The second part of it will be, since it's women, water, enlisting the participation of women, marginalized communities. You find in different regions at a various levels, like in some places you find them, a little bit more proactive, already having some experience. But in some places you will find the gram panchayats, women are there, but not really taking the decisions. The mandated committees like village water sanitation committees are there, but they are still in a work in progress, and they may not be able to take those decisions. So the capacities of working with the community also differ. When we talk about civil society organization, we influence and we build capacities, right? We are not going to stay there forever. The people are going to lead it. They are going to be in charge. But their capacities are sort of varying, right? So then what do I do? So that's again a challenge. So you cannot have what you call one sort of dress fit size kind of approach. You will need to be diversify your thinking. You need to have diversified approach, because things are different, basically. So that's the second challenge that one would face. The third is also in terms of innovations. When water and sanitation, innovations is a very critical aspect, basically. And there again, we are good, all of us, and we have a lot of institutions. But sometimes it's a matter of money. Sometimes it's a matter of applicability, replication. So it may not be always possible to test innovation in all the places. You test in one place, but really its applicability may differ in other places. So, like, as an institution, you want to be innovative, right? You want to give what suits people, what suits the conditions, the geostrata, but still you cannot be. Then innovation also sometimes can be not innovation in itself. And that's a challenge. We try to pitch, no? We want to be innovative. We want to do better. We want to look different. I'm wearing this specs. Maybe I need to be innovative. I have to color it or something like that. So, but maybe it suits me. It doesn't suit you. What to do? Because the ground conditions are so different, basically. So then there is a challenge. The another aspects we talk about is sustainability in our work. Lot of time. Sustainability is a nice topic. A lot of academic exercise. But in the end, when you put at ground level, unless there are right resources there, unless there are people capacitated, you cannot really go forward in that. You cannot say that I have put this system, I have done this, no, things are going fine, and like that. So sustainability is always nice to hear, to put it as, we are a sustainable institution. That is different sustainability. We are talking about the implementation of the work that we do.
Yeah.
But then again, there the challenges happen. So in terms of capacities, in terms of the aspiration balances, in terms of innovations, in terms of sustainability parameters, there are these continuous challenges there. We are doing better. It's not that we are not doing better, but yes, that's something which differs. Like you're working in an area which is like a primitive tribal area, and you're working in an area which is more like a rural or a village, but sort of peri-urban type, basically.
Understood.
Then it's different. Then again, the rural versus urban challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, many times what happens, I've been quite passionate about working in urban. That's my personal thing. I feel it's sometimes neglected because there is a very different kind of governance systems, and we cannot match out there as a civil society organizations always.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work that needs to be done in urban. We have some projects, very wonderful projects, basically. But then there are challenges. The urban is completely different from rural. So what you do in rural, you cannot replicate at all, or maybe you can learn a few things, but you cannot, like space constraint. In rural, I can at least make a toilet, but in urban, I cannot have the space, and then I have to think what I need to do, basically. There's a lot of informality in terms of settlements. So again, those challenges are there. So I think one cannot really say that one challenge is less important than the other. What is important? Be aware.
Yeah.
When one does our work, whether you are director or not, be aware. Once you are aware, you will start finding what are the demand, supply systems, and your challenges.
So, Meenal, you have very well elaborated on the program side of it. Now, I want to transcend a little bit into your own challenges as in your personal capacity. When I see the kind of role that you are playing, when I see the challenges that you are, if day in and day out embracing, then it must be too hard to balance things at home also. If so, how do you do it? If not, what do you do to brace it? Let me put it like that.
I myself am in a work in progress. Okay. So first is that statement. Yeah, because I don't think I have perfected as what I should be, basically. And I don't think I would be able to do that. As a woman, all of us, face, if you are married, not married, doesn't matter. But a set of challenges are different, basically. And we need to accept that. Most important, I think, would be in terms of, as a career woman, we need to define that, yes, I am a career woman. Not to go overboard it, but yes, this is something important to me. I really like to identify also with this. And it's not just, of course, we want to earn, we want to fend for our families, ourselves, but also you identify with certain kind of, passion that you want to be with, and this. In terms of personally, I mean, I think last some years, I've moved a bit into spirituality, basically. So I think one book that really influences me, and as I read it again and again, is Bhagavad Gita, basically. A lot of meaning, a lot of solutions for the problems of our body, mind, and action are in Bhagavad Gita. And and it could be something else for someone else, basically. Someone may do yoga, someone may do gardening, so try to find that. And our role as women is always stretched. Yeah, it doesn't end. Probably, so before coming to this message, to this discussion, I put a message that what is to be cooked for the night, basically, because my daughter is with me now for a break. very practical, right? Let's not try to show things that are very hi-fi or something like that. So she's there and okay, so you for pasta for you and the dal chawal for me basically. So that when we talk now, the message call doesn't come what is to be cooked, right? Manage it. So this is an example where I think women need to sort of, but women also have that capability, right? They're multitasking and this, and sometimes they are overloaded. But after all these years of like almost 30 years now, I realize that we need to pace. We cannot overstretch ourselves. I think physically, mentally, it's completely taxing on any individual. I don't want to differentiate between man and woman there, but women more because obviously you menstruate, you bear children, you are looked into certain role as being a householder basically. So it makes the things little bit more interesting, and then so it's there. You have to accept that fact, but I think somewhere this society also, while supporting women into a very proactive career role, needs to also sort of think about how her role can be balanced out. I think so. In that way, in terms of the challenges which are there, and as a woman myself, I try to and I think one thing which I've learned and I want to accept it more and more is being vulnerable. I don't want to show that I'm perfect. Yeah. So I want to be vulnerable at times. That doesn't mean that I lose my strength, I lose my sanity, or I lose my, role that I play. I have to show I'm tough. No. Maybe I am in pain, I'm in difficulty. I show I am vulnerable as well. And as much as the society start accepting that point more openly, I think it becomes better. I think we need to show that. Sometimes it's taken for granted now. Like mommy is there, your mother is like वो तो कर लेगी, है ना? तो नहीं, वो हमेशा नहीं कर सकती है, उनका भी लिमिटेशन है. So somewhere we need to accept that part also. For all individuals, again, I say I don't want to really differentiate between man and woman there, but yes, it is women do face a little different kind of situations, and hence it may be good to sort of show that yes, I am vulnerable and I can't do it.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, you're also balancing out. I mean, you cannot always get a family response which will exactly match what your requirement is. But then, somewhere you will need to create that little bit of space and things that, yes, this is what I need basically.
And
So I try as much. So I say I'm work in progress, and getting into spirituality. I think is good for me. I feel I don't know what it could be different for someone else. It really helps in terms of building a perspective, um, and a lot of pains that we incur in our life, which could not just be physical. We try to understand a meaning around it, and we try to get to understand how we should balance that out as a woman. So it's very important in that sense also, for women to. I think earlier it was different, right? You look at our grandmothers and all. There was a social group around it. Maybe they used to fight a lot and they used to backbite, but still there was a social group, and there was, for whatever reason, there was a give and take and things there. There is a significant disintegration of that kind of system, basically. Now, looking at hindsight, I feel that there are some merits around that as well. So, we really have to be open to that as well and balance out. If things don't work out, it's fine. I mean, don't feel bad about it. Just keep focusing on what you want to do.
I think you have
I
given us
hope I answered Dr. Vandan what you were asking.
no, no, not an issue. I think you have given us multiple mantras to kind of choose from a spectrum of options. And most importantly, you have said that what works for one may not work for the other. So there is no prescription. And
Yeah.
good that you brought out this point of solidarity and the sisterhood, because
Mm.
that would be an appropriate moment to bring in Mansi to this conversation, where we are,
Sure.
all together in this wiki group, and how this can be more fruitful Over to you, Mansi, to lead the conversations ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Vandana. Thanks for initiating the conversation. Am I audible to both of you?
Yes, Dr. Mansi, you are.
Okay. Thank you, Meenal. It was so nice to listen to you and with that calm and composure, the way you were talking about. And the best line was, I'm a work in progress. I think we all are going to stay work in progress. Uh, it brings me to the next part of the question where you already talked about it's okay to being looked at as vulnerable and also portray oneself as vulnerable. When we look at women at large in a society as an aggregate, and in the water sector, we always find that the service provision in the water sector has been more, and the focus has been more on women being vulnerable. You know, that Abla Nari syndrome, as I call it personally. But I wish to discuss with you more of the role of women in the leadership. You know, and when we look at that, our focus is on women water professionals in the sector, like you and me and others. Vandana is here, and I wish to understand from you, why is there not much acknowledgement and appreciation of women in the sector, even by quantity? Let's say we have 1 in 5 water professional who is woman, and in the world, and India fares even worse than that. One part is that, and the other part is, despite many women working in the sector, when we look at major water decisions, policy matters, many a times we find it is men who are deciding most of the water related matters. What is your take on the absence and acknowledgement and appreciation of women in the water sector?
All right. Now, first of all, the whole aspect of vulnerability does not mean like to say that I'm not empowered. It just
Of
means the
course.
moments where you feel you need to take help and support, but it's really personally. You
Yes.
should reach out to the group, to the people
Yes.
whom you trust, or you could be a friend, you could be a spouse, and anyone. You know, that's what I was trying to mean.
Yes.
It's not like a choice. Either you can be vulnerable or empowered. You should
Yes.
always be empowered, and displaying your vulnerability also shows a sense of empowerment.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm making myself clear on that part
Yes, yes,
basically.
absolutely.
And in terms of sort of coming to the point of why not many women are there in water as a sector basically, or not getting acknowledged or something like that. See, it's a mixed thing, Dr. Mansi. When you go at the grassroots level, you find, as you are aware, that there are policies around women participation in Panchayati Raj system. Also, women participation in the mandated institutions like Village Water Sanitation Committee. I think the whole self-help group movement also should not be forgotten.
Yes.
Because that has really formed as the basis of uh, women empowerment and women leading decisions in a rural setup, basically. Other movements also have all other kind of points, have like being a bank sakhi, or being a Asha Ben, being a Anganwadi, work Anganwadi teacher or something like that. So these also are important kind of developments we should not relegate to background, and that has changed the situation. So women work, and I mean locally it is recognized. It's not that always it's not recognized. Yeah.
Okay.
However, probably why I mean, when you look at development aspect, you need to look at what are the solutions we are looking at and where, you know. So if your solutions have to be local, if your solutions have to be sustainable at local level, if your solutions have to drive that kind of change in well-being at the local level, so the leaders also need to be many. It is good that there is no one woman out there in one way, but there are many women at the grassroots level.
Yes.
At least mandated, and to some cases involved also in terms of change that is what we are trying to look at. What probably not is happening is systematic information set on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Why that is happening also, because currently the Jal Jeevan Mission movement and the Swachh Bharat 2.0 movement, which are like flagship programs on water and sanitation aspects, they are in a mission mode on certain infrastructural work they are. And that is important. Yeah, we are not going to say into how much has happened, how much has not, but that's all important.
Yes.
There it requires a different kind of drive, right?
Hmm.
But when it goes to the next stage of, say, operations and maintenance, when it goes to the next stage of setting up, say, water surveillance systems,
Yes.
when it goes to the next stage of saying, oh, okay, grey water management is fine, but how is it linked to public health? Is there a link? Then where toilets have not been constructed, can SHGs work on their own for new toilets or additional things basically? Then it goes into, when it starts getting into those nitty-gritties, then the role of women becomes more and more prominent as part of the established institutions basically. And then there are many who should be activated or incapacitated basically.
Yes.
So we are looking at change not only in, I mean, one person, even if we have 1 lakh people centrally, we cannot drive the change at ground level.
No.
So we want wide spread kind of women engagement. That will be the change leaders, and we are seeing many in our work. Some of our projects, like there was this Women and Water Alliance project, which we recently concluded. And there particularly one of the aspects was empowering women into being able to deliver their role as part of the mandatory institutions or drivers of change, or the whole aspects about me and me, what me in terms of water, me in terms of taking decisions. And then that became so important basically. And then the women themselves started taking decisions, started driving change and bringing things about. So I think it is more in terms of having many women who can influence the decisions. It's not always necessary that you have to be a leader. It's also important to able to speak, to able to influence decisions. I mean, it is the choice, or it happens that someone is in leading role, right?
Yes.
Elections happen and someone leads. But then as a marginalized population, as a community, or as a cohort, do I get a representation? Is something heard from me basically?
Yeah.
So I think both ways we have to look at women. The women's empowerment
absolutely.
for them to speak and influence. I think more than leadership is important. That will create the change.
But I think the first step is having a voice and to be able to represent a community. Very well put.
Absolutely. Because once you start looking at, then they start going, oh, why the pipeline is like 2 inches? Because it has to go to 100 houses. And if you empower them in terms of saying, okay, this is how one has to think about a pipe layout, then when the JJM system is being implemented, they will ask the contractor, hello, why you are putting to 1.5, put 2.5? Because it has to reach the arterial parts, the habitation which is at the last end. So we need to sort of build the capacities to think about equity, think about how to influence. And then, of course, some of them will become leaders.
Absolutely.
Like entrepreneurs. You give entrepreneurship training to 200 people. So many stitching, tailoring, agarbatti making, papad making trainings we give. How many become entrepreneurs? Maybe 2, 3, 4 of them. Hardly, not even 5%, right? So it's not necessary that everyone has to translate into leadership, but yes, it is important that I should be able to speak, I should be allowed to speak, and I should be capacitated to the extent that I know what I want to speak and influence.
Yes.
I think that part is pretty important. That's what I
In fact, very well put, because that was also the question, followed up question. So it's really helping me to understand, because leadership is a pyramidal position. So you are so well talking about having a very strong base of the pyramid, so that as you mentioned, 5% of them will eventually become entrepreneur or leader if we capacitate the base. And anyway, when we talk about community empowerment, it is about everybody knowing, having a know-how about the basics of what they are going to get as service, or their rights to access to water and sanitation. Absolutely. I would still like to, nudge a little bit the question on skills. Because if we are talking about women leadership, there must be some extraordinary skills which above the base of the pyramid we are looking up into a leader. So because you have been in leadership position for a long time now, and you are also interacting with a lot of women leaders from across sectors and across levels of operation, what kind of extra skills you already mentioned one important skill, that to be able to speak, to be able to represent, what articulate your words or articulates your thoughts. What do you think, what kind of additional leadership skills one can nurture among the identified, some good women out of the base of the pyramid, where we can really bring them to a position where they can hold important decisions?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I think there's not an essential difference between a man leader or woman leader in
Of
my
course, no,
opinion.
it's a leadership question.
Yeah, it's a leadership is a leadership thing, right?
Yes.
But yes, leadership entails you need to give extra time. You need
Yes,
to
that's
sort
where
of do
woman
your
comes in.
homework.
Yeah.
You need to sort of speak. You need to be planning. You need to be doing risk planning, basically. So I think what differentiates us in terms of leaders, and this is like how well you understand what the problem statement is, basically. So studies is very important. I think as a leader, one should not stop studying, whether it is at a rural level or you might be a financial banker, investment banker, or anyone like that.
So
So
learning is important.
learning is absolutely, and keep abreast, keep learning something. So there's always something new out there, basically. The second important thinking is in terms of planning. You should plan for multiple kind of scenarios, basically. What if the Gram Panchayat, instead of 7 lakh sanctions, only 5 lakh? Still, will the street lights not be there? What if government plan does not sanction at all? So we have to prepare the leadership for those A, B, C's, basically. That's the second point. And the leadership in terms of communications is certainly important. That's a point where you need to start explaining things more easily rather than in a difficult manner.
To both sides, to
But
the
the
community.
differentiation between a leader and someone, maybe other, is you explain things in a most simple manner.
Yes.
Think when you are a leader, you should think that the other person sitting doesn't know at all what is you're going to say. So explain it in that way. Yeah, that doesn't reduce the intelligence of other person, or it doesn't lower you in any way. So communicate in that way, basically. So communication, not only speaking, but also sort of, explaining things in a simple manner. Demystify kar do. You don't have to create complex models. You just have to demystify things, basically.
Make the common people understand the
absolutely
transparency.
Absolutely. Then another thing is, see about your team or the people you work with. What are the various capacities? Maybe you are a Gram Panchayat leader, maybe a director, maybe a program manager, maybe a software analyst. You may have a team you work with, right? You have co-workers, you have other team members. So you need to understand what are their capacities and who is good at what, So the human resource is very important aspect, understanding that and like efficiently and effectively sort of, deploying that or taking them into teams and planning, like, I know this person can do well on this job. So, you should always allow that to grow. It should not be like only I sit and do things, or I get the things done, then, and then I say I've done it. Yeah. No, it's not that. You need to sort of recognize the capacity. Then what happens? The expectation match, and then there is not less friction, basically. And where there are less capacities, you always try to develop those support. And I think one of the most important thing I've learned, and I have learned this. It's not that I immediately became like that. Is to be as humble as possible for a leader. what is the most humble way you can be in the organization, with your colleagues, with your, even in your family? Yeah, you may have differences, but just be humble out there. You may be a Gram Panchayat leader elected with maybe 10,000 votes or something like that. But then in the end, that humility, that humbleness is very important. And especially when you are working in a civil society organization, you are working for impact for someone, which will define your success. You will need to be very, very humble, basically. And keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind, and ensure there are many other virtues. I mean,
Yes,
everyone
of
should have
course.
a
Yeah.
set of virtues, but I feel as a leader, humbleness is a very important aspect.
Important.
As you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Humbleness does not mean you don't you shy away from making decisions, but it's the process, how you convey, how you tell people that you don't agree with certain things,
Yes.
how you take your time to sort of respond and not be reactive, basically. So in that sense, and just be humble. And the last important thing is transparency.
Yes.
You have to be you might be at any level as a leader. You have to be transparent and consistent in your decisions.
Hmm.
You cannot be like you take one decision एक के लिए कि आपको 5 दिन का छुट्टी दिया, दूसरे को someone else you give 2 days holiday. Same situation, you can't do that. You have to be humble and you have to be transparent and consistent. What
Hmm.
you may not always share your decisions. That's fine, because as a leader, you cannot always think that, oh, I should immediately share this decision. But whatever work is happening, be transparent and also be consistent in your decision making. Because leadership, one is decision making is very important kind of role that one plays as
Yes.
a leader, right? People look at you to give decisions, or you are expected to give decisions. So be consistent and be transparent when you do your work. I think with a set of skills, planning, and with a set of virtues, one can start developing oneself to be in a leadership position, and there is no age limit.
Mm-hmm.
You can
That's
keep
true.
growing. Yeah, till your last breath, you can try to be the best in what the role that you are doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That brings me to a question on role of councils and associations. You are member of many councils, committees, and associations. And after this conversation, I'm also going to invite you to become our advisor in the Wiki Water Resource Council. I wish to understand from you how do these councils and associations really help or work for women water professionals to not only nurture their own career, but also encourage more women or more water professionals to be part of it. Does it really help to be part of a council or association? In your opinion, how and should women join them?
I'm not part of many councils.
Okay.
I was in past a few councils, and I'm
Yeah.
not part of many, of course. But in during my course of my career, I've
Yes.
associated with several leading sort of councils and boards and all. So, yeah, I mean, have had the opportunity to play those roles. I think in terms of councils and associations, an important cohort that one you could focus on is young people.
Yes.
I think if you have that bandwidth to sort of work on influencing and grooming, because the role of councils are not like in terms of immediate implementation or something like that, right? You are
Yes.
influencing the change process. You are influencing a certain direction, basically. So I think in terms of that, young people, young graduates or management people, or schools even in the rural areas,
Yes.
you could have young doctors, and I mean there is a lot of cohort you can have. So influencing young people would certainly be something as a agenda. The second thing is in terms of influencing industry, basically,
Yes.
because private sector financing plays an important role in blended finance. And I feel this area is very underexplored, and especially when
Yes.
you talk about wiki, and then the MSME sector is very underexplored, basically.
Yes.
And it's a large sector and a large employment, as well as I mean, I don't know the exact budget outcomes at the moment. I can't quote it, but yes, the role of MSME is also underscored, basically. So, in terms of second aspect is influencing the MSME sector to invest into into projects which are of importance: women empowerment, water and women, and not necessarily always having a particular type of project, basically. So I think you can play a lot of role in influencing the financing ecosystem, basically, as wiki. That's the second aspect. Third is representation to policies, basically.
Yes.
So campaigns form a very integral part, and are very legitimate tools that can be utilized for a particular aspect. In WaterAid India also we do a lot of campaigns, basically. We had recently one batting for water, where we have women cricketers talking about water and women. Then recently we are having some marathon or no, blue miles. So like you record miles, and the private sector sort of invest money depending on the miles that would be, So I think there is a lot of merit in larger organizations or associations who do have also other wings, right? And your parent body to influence through campaigns, basically large scale campaigns. So on top of my head, these are the three: young people,
Thank you.
and private financing, basically, and third is policy influencing through campaigns.
Yeah, thank you so much. And actually, I will hand it over to Vandana for last question. And it's really wonderful talking to you, Meenal. And I am so happy to have you here and listen to you, especially the way you are so well sorted out to explain things. And that's a true
I think
quality
I'm
of
projecting myself
leadership.
to be like that.
No, I think that's also a quality which we are learning what it is to be a good leader, So let me just hand it over to Vandana, and she'll also ask you the last question and also do the
Sure.
vote of thanks. Thank you so much, Meenal.
Thank you,
Over
Dr.
to you,
Mansi.
Vandana.
Well, thank you, Mansi and Meenal, for sharing your thoughts and wisdom with us. This is almost the fag end, and let me just ask the last question. Meenal, what is your message to the youth specifically in terms of engendering this particular sector, which is the water sector?
I mean, a lot of messages can be given to the youth. Basically, we all have young children as well at home, and I think it is very important to focus on studies. I think somewhere because of the way one studies, the way one is approaching the influences of social media, and kind of prospects of getting gig jobs, a lot of young people are ignoring the importance that study can play, basically. So I think it's very important to sort of study. The second aspect is in terms of, I mean, I don't want to sound as being something very dogmatic, but culture. I think it's a responsibility of us also as a parents to transmit a few values on a day-to-day basis to young people, and share about the real culture that we are. It's we are a culture not suppressing women. Women from Vedic ages have been in very prominence in the Indian culture, and nothing should shame this group to go in that way, basically. So I think from a gender perspective, it is very important to also share with young minds on cultural aspects of our which gave so much importance to women, basically. I know there's someone called Dr. Anandibai Joshi, who is like where town I was born. She was the first doctor, and then she went to US. And just knowing that in my hometown there was someone like that, if I tell my daughter, I mean, it makes a difference. When women were not allowed to go out, someone goes and becomes a medical doctor or something. And so culture from Vedic ages has always respected women. So it's very important to, along with academics, the women part. The third is, I think, sports. Young people need to do a lot of we also need to do, but young people need to get into physical training and activities basically. And sports for women has been difficult because of various challenges that are there and facilities, but it's improving. So young people and women and girls, as many as you can put them in sports, and that will really help. You don't have to always win the matches, but the fact that you're competing, you're being physically active, really helps you to sort of create a neutrality on gender aspect. You don't have to always think I am a woman, or a man thinks she is a woman, actually. So in that sense, bringing that neutrality, it's very important to, in our families, in our society, to bring that neutral aspect. Be sensitive, yeah, to human needs. Someone menstruates, need to take care. Boys don't menstruate, fine, but they might have other puberty problems, basically. So don't ignore those problems. But you need to neutralize things, not always make like woman, woman and man, man, basically. If you permit me, I might just like to go a step further in terms of spirituality. You may not always adhere to it, but it is said in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam also that essentially all of us are feminine. We are Prakriti, basically. Yeah, whether it's a man or a woman. But I'm not stretching the argument, then it means that everyone has that quality, right? A man can think like a woman thinks like a woman can think like man as well. Yeah, things don't always go wrong because of men. Sometimes we also need to think in terms of how we are balancing out. Yeah, femininity doesn't mean the whole sexuality aspect. It's just the aspect of how tolerant, how patient, how humble one has to be, and applies for man as well as woman, basically. So I think creating that sense of being neutral is very important, so that the approach becomes very balanced one, and then the perception and image of young towards women and young women towards men becomes so. So I feel it's very important for us as leaders to sort of try to bring in some sort of at least some influence.
Right.
You may start at a small level, and some of them can influence at a larger level also. So
Right.
the opportunity you get, you should utilize it. Basically, that's my submission on that.
Great, Meenal. I think time has flown already. We have surpassed almost an hour. So really delighted, and I feel that this conversation was really flowing like water. What you started as flow continued through the conversation. So I hope you have felt the same. And
I didn't plan to use that word, but it just came out.
It's called synchronicity, what
Yeah.
you thought and what actually happened, what we all were thinking. So it's like be like water and I am water. May you remain an inspiration to others. We are absolutely grateful to you to have learned about your water endeavors. May you also continue your water activities and do keep us posted about those. We will be continuing with our initiative on Monday Munching with Women for Water every Monday at 5 p.m. Look forward to learning more from other women from the water sectors. You may also please follow our social media platforms for regular updates. Thank you so much, everyone, and please take care. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
for-
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you so much,
Mata.
Meenal.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mansi.
Please take care. And
Yeah,
it was
thank you.
wonderful having
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
My
Thanks,
pleasure
Vandana.
always. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Bye-bye. Bye. Namaste.
Bye.
See you. May stop the recording.